Welcome back, and thank you for persisting with us through this little journey. I want to thank you for taking the time and investing yourself in both reading Leadership in the Crucible of Work and discussing it together and giving us a few minutes with you at each pair of essays to prompt your conversation. I hope it's useful to you. We may add more content here under this subtitle of Notes from the Crucible later, but for now we're going to conclude these contributions with one last thought. And I hope you'll just give me a couple of minutes to unpack this. In the book, there is an underlying theme that follows all the way through. And I want to unpack it just a minute for you. It is really that all of our interactions as leaders depend on having the right anthropology. There's a 50-cent word that needs to be thought through. I think transformational leaders that matter in their organizations, deal with this question of what it means to be human. All of our systems of planning, of hiring, of compensating, of performance evaluation, our systems of organization of work and design, all these things are based on some kind of anthropology, and most of the time it's completely unexamined. And what we end up with is an inherited anthropology that tends to treat people as objects, as resources, and as things to be manipulated, not fellows to be engaged, loved, supported, challenged, nourished, and dealt with in other ways. Great leaders, I think, have a deep sense of the humanity of the people they serve with and the people the organization's designed to serve. So what's your anthropology? I think that's a question worth continuing to think. And what difference does your anthropology make at work? And I encourage you to ask that question as though you're a sociologist visiting your organization. Based on the behavior and the systems of my enterprise, what would you say our anthropology is? Are people interchangeable? Is talent rare or common? Are people essentially good and willing to help? Or are they wicked and selfish? Is perfection a reasonable expectation? All those kinds of questions speak to anthropology. Now, I've wrestled with this one question for almost all of my 40-year career. And I want to tell you that I've only found one overarching anthropology that made sense of all the data for me. All the data and observation, all those years of leadership, the people I've dealt with, and the systems I've worked in. And that is a sacred anthropology, and it comes essentially out of the Christian faith. The question is, what's yours? I believe the Christian story because it answers most of the questions I have. Not all of them, but most of them. And I'm willing to persist on the rest of them. I like it as a story, as C.S. Lewis said, because it's like the sun rising. I can see it, and by it I can see everything. It sheds light. Now, you may or may not ever have really heard the Christian story, much less heard what a sacred anthropology is about. And if you have heard it, there's a good chance you heard a caricature and not the real story, as there's lots of cartoonish caricatures of the faith out there. But I encourage you to explore it. It's been immensely helpful to me. It centers my life and work. And all of the humane approaches to leadership I know owe their roots to that vision of life. Check it out. We'll be checking out the faith and the person at the center of the faith, Jesus Christ.